How about it?
Any update on Ja'Marr from yesterday to today, or still the same as yesterday?
Still the same. We'll see where we're at on Wednesday and how we can integrate him into practice and how he's feeling.
What is an extra week of specifically for the hip injury itself? What does an extra week of rest do for the healing of the hip or kind of the injury that he's dealing with?
For not playing him in the game?
Yeah.
I think it was more just, he was off of it for 4 weeks. Last week allowed him to get on the grass and run routes, and so now not playing him in that game, he could have had the contact, I think, but it's really good to get him a week of back into football mode. And now next week, again, take it day to day to see where he's at. And I think we'll all feel better about a guy coming off of an injury who's actually had a week of practice. Because that's what you get to do with those IR guys oftentimes. I know he's a week earlier than that, but you get the 21-day window to get him back into the field of things before you put him back out there on a game field. And so I feel like we've handled this the right way.
Is the goal for him to participate fully this week? Do you want to see him practice full?
That's hard for me to say today. He continues to do his workouts with Joey and the training staff. Today is only Monday, so again, he did some stuff today. Tomorrow, I think they'll back him down some so that to give him the best chance to do as much as we feel comfortable doing on Wednesday.
Is Mixon still in the concussion protocol?
He's still in it. He's not through it yet, but making progress.
In your post-game speech, the video, you were saying that they have to play us. Can you just tell us a little bit about that phrase you had and just kind of the mentality of the team with these games, and you saying they have to play us?
Yeah.
Obviously, people will come into this game talking a lot about the Chiefs, but your message to the team post-game, would you tell us a little bit about that?
Just the belief we have in ourselves. And, again, we don't need motivation going into any of these games. We always know what the narrative is, that our schedule is difficult. We don't really care about that. At the end of the day, as long as we put in the work, we know we've got the right people in the building. We can play with anybody in the league, and we can beat anybody in the league. And that doesn't mean that we can take a day off and go into a game assuming we're gonna. I'm not saying any of that, but we know that we've got everything it takes to be a successful team in the league, and so that's really where that statement comes from. Is we're gonna play great teams, but we're a great team also, and so that's where that stems from.
Our rewatch, what was the most impressive part of your run defense yesterday?
One-on-one tackling. Not all gang tackling, but just I think there were some one-on-one tackles. Just about everybody has one that stands out. You can work your way from the back end and go all the way up if you really wanted to. DBs getting in there and making plays. But again, it starts up front with those guys not making things easy on their rushing attack. And it was just a total team defensive effort. And then, when you get tested in the pass game, I thought our guys stepped up as well and made some plays. And it's not going to be perfect. When you commit to the run game like that, there's going to be some stuff in the pass game that's going to be difficult. They got really talented receivers and a great quarterback. And so they're going to make some plays there. But I just thought collectively as a team, they're really impressive defense yesterday.
Have you ever given that many game loads out?
I'm sure, after some of those playoff wins and stuff, I think everybody in the organization gets them for those moments. But it just felt like yesterday we were going to need everybody in every different way. And just really felt walking off the field that everybody had stepped up and done their job. And, it's not sexy statistically. There's nothing that's just crazy about the game. It was just a great team win on the road against a team that we've got a lot of respect for. And so, I just felt like everybody was deserving that.
It's not often you see your teams have as many penalties as you guys had yesterday. How unhappy was Aaron, and what do you think happened there yesterday?
Yeah, we've got to be better in a couple of those. Trey's is right there on the edge, and then the two holdings. We just got to do a better job of being more disciplined there with our technique. So, that was – we had no PI on T. It's worst coverage look you can get on that particular situation. I thought T handled it as well as you could. I understand why there was a penalty called. There's not a whole lot I would tell T to do differently. It was just kind of all the coverage structures you can get, that's the one you want the least with that throw. We got it. T did everything he could to try to prevent it. At the end of the day, they made the decision to call it. I'm not going to fight that one. I get it. And then we had the one with Chris Evans. We just can't add that little flipper at the end, on the OPI in the first drive of the game. We can't do that. That's a penalty. So those are the main ones in my head right now that stand out. Maybe there's more you can remind me of, but those were the ones that stood out early in the game.
How impressed have you been with Drew Chrisman?
I thought he did a great job for us. Really to be backed up twice there early in the game and be able to get us out of it. My 12-year-old told me last night he doesn't often see returners turn and run backwards. I think that was the play he took away from the game. That was the first comment he wanted to make to me. But I thought that he did a really good job, helping us with the field position there when we were in some tough spots.
We just talked to TV over Zoom, and he said that it's kind of a matchup between Mahomes and Burrow's a little Brady and Manning-esque. I mean, does it feel like, what's that like going into a game where you've got two of the best quarterbacks in the league, facing off?
I'm sure that's the narrative that people make of it, but we feel like it's just two good football teams, and we got a lot of respect for Patrick Mahomes. He's a great quarterback and everything that comes with that. But again, we just see a really good football team that we got to prepare for in all phases. They've done a great job this year. They've got a great history in November, December, won a lot of football games. But our guys are up for the challenge, and we're excited for the opportunity.
Is there anything to having to beat a team 3 times in a row, or does that even matter because it's split between 2 different seasons?
Yeah, 2 different seasons. It's at this point in the year, it's totally different years. I'm sure we'll go through and be aware of how those games played out and things they did, and they'll do the same thing to us. But at the end of the day, it's just already looking at the DBs. I see a lot of different DBs out. It's just a lot of different personnel for both teams, and so again, you just got to be ready for how they've evolved over the course of the season. And same with us.
Von Bell said, Zach, that one of the keys in defending a guy like Patrick Mahomes, or from their perspective defending Burrow, is not to give away the keys to the defense or the answers to the test early in progressions, to make sure you force them to go through their progressions and whatnot. Why do you think you guys are so good at those little details?
The overall chemistry of our defense, just everything ties together. There's not one guy at a source showing one thing and everybody else giving away the other things. I think really, if you just talk about the shell of our defense, they do a really good job really being tied to a string. And if they're showing one look, they're all doing it, and they're flipping on the snap. And so that's experience in the same system. That's where that comes into play. That's just football experience and high football IQ by the guys that are a part of that. And that's just not the back end. That's everybody. Everybody understands how it's all tied together. Because you see, those guys in there right now hanging out together. They're around each other all the time. They're talking non-football. They're talking football. So it's just it allows our defense to play at another level when you've got guys that care so much about the presentation of the defense and trying to confuse other teams and all being on the same page with looks. And that's important for really good defenses to have, and our guys take a lot of pride in that.
Along those same lines, do you think you guys do a particularly good job of moving on to different style quarterbacks quickly? Let's say Ryan Tannehill to Patrick Mahomes, like this week, and week before, rookie and Kenny Pickett, 3 very different.
Yeah, it's more, of course, you have to factor in the quarterback. It's more just the style of offense. I think that's the number one focus. And style of offense, what do they do well? And then you go to the personnel after that. Okay, what's the personnel that you got to be concerned about and have a great plan for? Mahomes is difficult to have a great plan for. You got to play well, and everyone's got to be on the same page. And I think, our guys are going to put a lot of work this week to make sure that's the case.
Not sure how noticeable it was from the sideline in real time when you went back and rewatched. Did you take any exception with the aggressive nature on those final 3 kneel downs?
That's just part of football. Everyone's trying to win the game. It's a 1-score game, and so that kind of stuff happens sometimes. You just got to protect yourself.
A lot of times you see that they just kind of stand up and almost like it's touch football. Is there a fine line there? Is there some games it is a fight to the final whistle, and other times?
Yeah, I think you'll have to ask Ted.
Have you seen the video of Ted coming?
I have.
What do you think?
I think Ted's going to be a Cincinnati legend when his time's done here.
The play that Taylor Britt made forcing the fumble, I know you don't recover it.
Yeah.
How does that land in the coach's film room as you watch something like that, and how much does a play like that build trust in a rookie corner who's trying to find his way?
Never given up. I mean, that's just a great example. I don't remember exactly what yard line that was on inside the 5, but just, again, the play's never over. And Justin Hill does that every Wednesday, all about the ball tape, plays around the league. And I think it really resonates with our guys. Whether you're a defender carrying a ball, some of those fumbles that occur, or an offensive guy, the play's never over. We've had a saying, letters and logos. Make sure you run through the letters and the logos before you relax, 2 yards into the end zone. But again, our defender's doing a great job of, until that ball crosses the goal line, knowing that the play's still alive and it doesn't matter who's carrying it. So I thought that was a really good play. That gave us a chance. Obviously, it didn't go in our way, but it's a great example of a guy not giving up on a play and giving us an opportunity there.
Is that play kind of in a nutshell the traits that led you guys drafted him in the first place?
Yeah, when he's on the grass, he's all about ball and extreme competitor, and you can feel that energy.
Is there maybe an underrated play in one of those 2 Kansas City games that really sticks out that maybe doesn't get talked about a ton?
I don't know what gets talked about a ton. There was a lot of plays. You don't want to gloss over any. The one that sticks out in my mind is the end of the game. Sam Hubbard being in coverage and then just pursuing Mahomes. It was a 3rd down play that led to a field goal that sent it into overtime, where they had opportunities there to score, to put us in a tough spot. We're going to have to go drive to go win the game. And for our defense, overall, just our red zone defense to hold up, to keep them to a field goal. The play that stands out is, Sam knocking the ball free, and making the field goal even more difficult. There's things that, come back to me now. Trey Hendrickson just exhausted, coming off the field after that drive. And those guys left everything they had out there to give us an opportunity to go win the game. And almost won in regulation with that fumble, and then just took the next step in overtime, and were able to secure the turnover there with Vaughn and Jesse.
Zach, I know you talked about those plays, and you mentioned the dynamic with Burrow and Mahomes, but in some ways, with how close the last 2 matchups have been, do you feel like this is kind of becoming a rivalry between you and Kansas City?
Yeah, I mean, really, to be honest, I'm not saying yes because I agree with that, but yes because it's every year so different. So we're not really focused on how those games played out. I've got the memories of how they played out, but when you watch them, it'll be more about the scheme and that kind of things, just for recall. But it's not that we played them twice at the end of the year. It really that doesn't factor into any of it for us and our messaging to the team. It's about 2022. We're in December. These games are all critical, and we've got a good opponent coming to our doorstep, and we've got to play our best.
You mentioned your kids, or your son, questioning about or saying about the punter.
Mm-hmm.
Do they ever question you, say why'd you do this? or
Yeah.
But I mean, if they're at that age where
They
it's
do.
they're like, what are you doing, Dad? Do they ever do that when you get home from the game?
Yes, that's happened before. It doesn't happen very often. I can't think of a specific play, but I can feel certain that it's come up before. Yeah.
Is it funny what they take away from the games out there? I mean, are they analytical now because they're coaches' sons, or do they just enjoy what are they like as kind of fans?
Yeah, they're coaches' kids fans. That's what they are. It's they play Madden for 5 hours a day. And then they watch every game. They wake up and they watch Good Morning Football. That's what they do. This morning I helped them get ready for school, and they're on the couch eating their breakfast and watching Good Morning Football and watching the highlights. And then they watch SportsCenter every day. We were trying to watch a Christmas movie on Friday night, and the DVR was all full, and it's SportsCenter. There's 1,000 SportsCenters I had to clear off. And so yeah, they I think that's the thing with coaches' kids, because I also teach them. I'm talking about man's own tells with my son, and all these different things, trying to explain why you do things and what you can look for. And he went to the UC Tulane game. My wife took both my kids, and they came back and we're talking about that game. And so it's fun to see their perspective on it, and you can understand why so many coaches' kids get into the profession. To the dismay of coaches' wives, but because they're around it so much, and those are just a lot of the conversations. That's what I do, and that's what I love doing. So I spend a lot of time trying to educate them on being a smart football player. And so naturally that just takes you through high school and college, and it's like, well, what am I meant to do? I'm meant to coach because I've got all this information in my head, and that's how I came up, me and my brother with my dad. And so it feels like that makes the most sense, way more sense than accounting and economics, and it's just football makes a lot more sense to all of us.
Do they ask you if Ja'Marr's going to play? I mean, is that, or do you play as coy with them as you do with the
I do. Yeah, I do. I don't ever want to put them in that spot where they feel like they got to guard information. There's always things that they're going to be aware of that I think they do a great job of protecting. But at the same time, I'm smart enough to know that they're in elementary school and the pressures that come with that. So I always try to protect them from that information.
They go to school and say week to week to their friends?
I don't know what they say. But I think they're pretty good at it.
Kind of speaking to that, with Brian and his dad, I have a question about both your coordinators. If you had to pick one trait for each one of them, Lou and Brian, that you think would make them a good head coach, considering now that you're a couple years into this and you know all that it takes to be a good head coach, what would you say for each one of them?
One, that's hard. Man, I think relatability stands out for both those guys with the players. I think there's the saying that you can't fool your player, you can't BS your players. They know those who know, and I think that's the respect Brian and Lou both have. Throw Darren into that mix as well. The players know that those guys know everything that comes out of their mouth is coming from experience. It's coming from just a desire to get the most out of the unit, and I think the players also know that they can go in and have a real conversation with those guys and not be talked down to and not be told, no, we're doing it this way because I say it's this way. There's open conversations there and open dialogue. And so I think that lends themselves very well to being head coaches, being the leaders of their units like they are. And so you can almost just blend all those guys together, and they've all got those traits that are really impressive, and they've all got just tremendous experience behind them as well.
You mentioned your brother. Was there a thank you call or a text yesterday before you play?
Well, I was FaceTiming my parents after the game. They were in Norman, and I couldn't see the game. I was kind of in my own locker room, and they were. Did you just picture it? They were showing the game on FaceTime. So I was watching the game through FaceTime, and it must have been delayed because I heard the locker room way before Jacksonville scored the last touchdown. But, I was probably a little more locked in, more so because it was Jacksonville than anything else. And that's always the first score I check when the game's over, to see how that household's going to be for the following week. And fortunately for him, they did a great job.
What was your reaction to the Luke Fickell news?
Happy for Luke. It's I just think so highly of that guy. They're getting a winner. They're getting a guy who's just done a tremendous job during his 6 years at UC, I think it was, and just building that program up and that culture and consistently. I mean, it's so hard to consistently win at any level, and I just know, having been in that conference, how different every style of team you play is. You're facing triple option, you're facing a team that throws it 70 times. And so to be consistently as powerful as he's done there at UC, he certainly left it in a great spot. Joey Boze is very happy because he's a Wisconsin grad and they got Luke. And so really, really happy for him and his family if that's what they were looking for. And know Wisconsin's getting a great coach.